Hear about this woman. She was driving her Rolls Royce the streets of New York City. So she parks outside a bank. She enters to the bank and she asks to speak to the manager. Of course, he comes. And she said to him, look, I would like to borrow $5,000 and I would like to use my car as a collateral. And then the manager said, are you sure you want to do that for $5,000? We're talking about a car that is probably worth $200,000. And she says, yes, I need to borrow this $5,000 for 30 days. And I would like to use my car as collateral. And then the manager said, fine, sure. So he goes, he prepares the paperwork. She signs with the commitment that she's going to come back in 30 days and she's going to repay the bank plus the interest. So she leaves. 30 days later, she comes back and she pays the $5,000 plus this $80 interest over the loan that she took. She was about to take her car back. And then the manager says, this is kind of crazy. Can I ask you, why did you use your car for collateral for $5,000? And she said, well, actually, I didn't really need the money, but I needed to leave the city for 30 days, and I couldn't find cheaper parking for my car than here at the bank. So I want to talk to you today about faster, cheaper, and easier. Come on, guys. We live in a convenient and crazy world where actually we sometimes live by these rules. We want everything to be faster, everything to be cheaper, and everything to be easier. And I was trying to think some examples of this in our lives and how sometimes even the language we use reflects this reality. Words like automatic, right? Instant, online, ready to eat, plug and play. They're all things that reflect this reality. We want everything to be faster, cheaper, and easier. Why do you think, this is so crazy that we walk around, right, with our smartphones, and how do we unlock the smartphone? We look at it. So because we don't even have time to type the password. So we want to do it faster, so we use our faces to unlock our phones. You know what? It's all good. That's all good. There is nothing wrong with wanting things faster, cheaper, and easier, except that we can't apply the same concept to everything in life. Because there are things that need more time. There are things that actually, because there is more time and expertise involved in the process, are going to be more expensive. And there are other things that to be properly done, it has to be done in a way that is not so easy. And that's okay. But unfortunately, this craziness for wanting everything faster, cheaper, and easier, it's sometimes ruining our lives. Because if we don't get things faster, cheaper, or easier, we get angry, we get depressed, our mood change, and it's because we don't understand that those principles don't apply to every single thing in life. I was just reading about these experiments that scientists did on trees. They were trying to speed up the process of growth for a tree. And you know what happened? They did it, actually. They were able to speed it up significantly. But you know what happened? Even though the tree grew, the roots and the trunk were not strong enough to hold the weight of the branches and the fruits, and eventually the tree collapsed because it didn't have enough time to mature properly to support the weight that it's going to have on top. So yes, we try sometimes to do things faster, but it's not always possible. Sometimes, unfortunately, we have to wait. Unfortunately, we have to pay a little bit more. And unfortunately, not every single time things are going to be as easy as you would like them to be. We just celebrated Tu B'Shvat, for example, the New Year's of the tree. And by the way, if you read in the Talmud, Tu B'Shvat has nothing to do with planting trees. The origin of Tu B'Shvat was to have a day in the year where we can calculate a 4-year period that we had to wait in the past before we were able to eat the fruits from a new tree. So if you plant a tree, you cannot touch the fruits until year number 4. So how do you calculate the years? Well, Tu B'Shvat was that mark. And why was that? Because the whole idea was to allow the tree to grow untouched with the fruit falling to the ground, and then the nutrients will be reabsorbed by the roots and so forth, so it will grow stronger. And it was a waiting game, because sometimes, you want everything right now. I planted a tree, I want to eat the fruits tomorrow, but it doesn't work that way. Tu B'Shvat also is a teaching opportunity to learn that sometimes if you want things the proper way, if you want to really enjoy things, you have to wait. This week's Parsha, we have the same thing. And it's at the very beginning. I don't know if you read it, at the opening of this week's Parsha. It will say that when Pharaoh sent the Israelites away from Egypt, God didn't lead them through the land of the Philistines. Instead, God took them through the desert, which is it's a longer way. It says, and God says, because even though the land of the Philistines is shorter, the path is shorter, they are going to experience war right away, and they are going to go back to Egypt. So instead, they have to take this longer path, but it was a safer path to go to Israel. Yeah, if you think about it, from Egypt, all they have to do is to follow the coast, and then right away, I think it was calculated that all they needed is a couple of weeks for that number of people to go from Egypt to Israel if they follow the coast. But God said, nope, I know it's shorter, I know it's easier, I know it's cheaper, but that's not the way, because it's not the best way. The best way will be to take the wilderness path, because that will give you, Israelites, the opportunity to grow as a nation. And because they took that way, remember everything that happened in that extra miles that they took, they received the Torah, they built the temple, they learned to work together. So yes, it was a little longer, but it was better. Because God is not in the faster, cheaper, and easier business. God is in the business of teaching us to do things the right way. Doesn't matter how long it takes. Doesn't matter sometimes how much it involves financially. We know that as Jews, that we have to contribute with our finances. I'm pretty sure sometimes there might be other religions that they are cheaper than Judaism. But nevertheless, we want to stay Jews, even though sometimes that means that we have to open our wallets. And God is not in the easier business. God is in the business of doing the things the right way, even though sometimes that seems to be a little bit more difficult. So, I mentioned this because I realized that with the pandemic and the stay at home and everything else, we feel that it's getting too long. We should just get rid of all this. Let's get over with it. But we know that it's not safe. It's not the right thing to do. Yes, it might be tempting to take the shortcut, but at the end of the day, the shortcut might not be the best thing for us at the end. Yeah, the vaccine is it's taking too long. Let's bring whatever they have. But then why would you do that if at the end of the day, it's not going to be beneficial to get something that hasn't been proven? So yes, sometimes in life, we have to wait. Sometimes in life, we have to pay a little bit more. And sometimes in life, we have to work a little bit harder. And even though we live in a world that is trying to convince you that faster, cheaper, and easier is better, the Torah is teaching us that's not necessarily true. Because the best way, the way God is trying to teach us, is always the proper way. Doesn't matter how long it takes, how much it costs, or how difficult it might be. Because at the end of the day, is whatever it is better for us, the path that we have to take. Shabbat Shalom.